Hello again, people. Yes, recently Callum over at the Retro Ghetto put out a video talking about like modern retro games, and Eddie at Rollerxcore has turned it into a VR. So he put out 10 games that he wanted to chuck into the list, into the pot of great like modern retro games, which is a bit of an oxymoron, isn't it? But never mind. So I thought, yeah, I like this genre. I play a lot of these type of things. I play this type of stuff more than any like AAA games anymore. So yeah, I'm gonna chuck a few more into the pot of great modern retro games. So yeah, here they are. Okay, up first on this list of just modern retro games I want to chuck into the pot is a follow-up to a retro game, but it's a modern release. It's the Blaster Master Zero games. Yeah, I've got this giant collector's edition of 0, 1 and 2. There is a third game now, which I don't have. But if you ever want to see what's inside this is a really cool. This is one of the coolest collector's editions I've ever seen. So I'll happily do a little video opening it up. But what is it? It's a follow-up to Blaster Master on the NES. I think there was a 3D reimagining of it on the PS1 or something. There might have been a couple of other games in there. There's definitely another one in there somewhere. But I only ever played the original on the NES. So what is it? It's like a Metroidvania, basically. You're a little chappy with... There's basically no plot to this game, by the way. You're just a little chappy who is in a tank, basically exploring like an 8-bit side-scrolling world where you can jump in and out of your tank to explore areas and kill monsters. That's basically it. But when you jump out your tank and go into other areas, it becomes like a top-down, like shooter kind of game, like on foot, not like a shmup style. But yeah, it hits more of a Link to the Past kind of view, which I'd say it looks more 16-bit than 8-bit. But yeah, it's just a little game where you drive around in a tank shooting stuff. The tank can jump. It's a bit weird, but yeah, you just drive around, jump out your tank, explore stuff, kill stuff, and it's actually really, really good fun. It's got a lot of modern, like, I don't know what they're called, quality of life improvements. That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, so like there's a generous amount of checkpoints. The game itself is really pretty easy. I haven't played number 2 yet, but apparently everyone complained that the first one was too easy. Then they ramped up the second one. And then people said it might have been a bit too hard. But anyway, yeah, really good game. I'm not very good at explaining these things or selling anything, so I will put video in the corner so you can see what type of games these are. But yeah, I recommend the Blaster Master Zero games. Up next is another game with an 8-bit art style. It is Bloodstained: Curse of the Moon. Yeah, this was released as basically a spiritual successor to the Castlevania franchise. They created a game called Castlevania Bloodstained: Ritual of the Night, I think it is, which was a more Symphony of the Night style game with actual polygons and stuff. But it was done through Kickstarter, and one of their goals, I'm pretty sure, was to release an 8-bit style like follow-up, which they did, which was this. And yeah, it is still sealed here, but I played it on the Xbox One because it was on Game Pass for a while, so I played it and beat it there. So I've still got to get the platinum out of this one, if it has one, that is. I don't know. But yeah, it is genuinely just a really solid 8-bit Castlevania game, basically. You have I'm not sure, there's a couple of... It takes like from all different types of Castlevania, so there's multiple characters. You can choose whether or not to save characters throughout the game, or you can kill them or ignore them to build up like who you can play as and get different endings and things. There's a boss rush mode in it. There's, I don't know, there's loads of endings, loads of everything. It's, yeah, I think so far I've preferred this than any of the old Castlevania games, which is probably blasphemy, but it wasn't too hard. It was all the characters are varied enough that you'd want to do multiple playthroughs, and it just also looks awesome. It controls incredibly tightly. I just recommend this. This is really cheap as well. Not the physical PS4 one. This is the limited run version, but I think this might be the limited packs edition cover. I can't remember. But yeah, if you like old school Castlevania games and NES games, this is fantastic. Play this. Honestly, play it. Up next is a game that I can't show you because I don't have a physical copy of it, even though they do exist. There's a PS4 version, and strangely, there's a Dreamcast version, so it did go backwards in time and become a retro game. If we can count it. What is it? It's Volgar the Viking. It's basically a 2D hack and slash platformer. The closest thing I can think of off the top of my head that it would be like is Rastan. So yeah, he swings his sword in a very janky motion. It's a bit weird, but it is probably one of the most retro like games I could think of in a modern retro like sense. Everything about it, like when you jump, you have to commit yourself to the jump. You can't change your direction in the air or anything. It's incredibly difficult. It's start at the beginning, you die, you start back at the beginning of the level kind of thing. It does have a system though that once you beat a level, like beat a world, you've got like a set number of levels. I think it's like 1 or 2, then a boss or something. I can't remember. It's a long time since I played it. But you get like a crystal that at the beginning of the game, when you boot it up, you can walk into this crystal or something. It's like a warp zone that starts you at the beginning of the next, like the stage you got to. But even with that, the game is stupidly hard. I have never beat it. I think I got to stage 3 or 4 with hours of playing, but I still love it. I genuinely still tell people to play it. Basically, you walk around with a sword. You can power yourself up by collecting like little secret bits in the level to basically make yourself covered in armor and stuff. It's like a couple hits death though. And you've got a spear which you can throw to stick into walls to make platforms, which comes in handy on bosses. Like I think the first boss has a giant shield or something, and you throw the spear into the shield to be able to climb up and smack him in the head. But it is punishingly difficult. But it's amazing. It's full of blood, loads of blood. Everything explodes into bones and gore. I just highly recommend it. I don't know how much the physical of it. I'm losing my voice. I don't know how much the physical of it costs. I've never actually tried to buy a physical because I think it was Games with Gold is why I got it. So I've still got it digitally on Xbox. So if you used to download everything that was on not Game Pass. I can't talk today. Everything that was on Games with Gold, you might already have this and haven't given it a shot. But don't just mug it off straight away because of the difficulty. It's worth sticking with. And once you've got the jumping down, it does have the never-ending spawn of enemies though. That makes it difficult. It's just fucking hard. But give it a go. It's great. Up next is one for the shmup fans. It is Super Hydora, which, as you can tell by the box, yes, it does go with a very retro aesthetic. What is this? As I said, it's a shmup. It's a horizontal shmup in the style of like Gradius or R-Type, that kind of thing. Here's some screenshots on the back. There you go. It's pretty much just a 16-bit style shooter, and it's hard. This is hard actually. I've not beat this either. I do need to get back to it. I got hardly anywhere with it, but I was enjoying it when I was playing it. There's a few differences with it. Rather than, I'm pretty sure you could choose your levels, which way you wanted to tackle them, kind of like Thunder Force. Then you've got an ability to like power up your weapons in between stages, but you could only choose to select a few of them at a time. Yeah, I keep trying to do this in videos. I try to talk about shmups. I do play a lot of them. There's not much I can say about them. You just scroll along and shoot things. But it is one of my fastly becoming one of my favourite genres. I have a big feeling this was done by a one-man team. I think it's done by the same guy who did Curse Castilla, which is a amazing ghosts and goblins, or ghouls and ghosts, whichever you want to call it. Spiritual successor to that, which I was going to put in this list, but I didn't. It's currently sitting behind my head. But yeah, I put this in instead. If you're into your shmups, it's worth a go. It's on the eShop very cheaply, usually on the Switch, and this is the PS4 limited run version of it. I don't know if they did a physical Switch version of it, but yeah, I'd say just get this one because the box is cool. So yeah, Super Hydora, great game. Up next is another Metroidvania style game, but this one comes with a twist. I don't remember there being any enemies in the game. I think, well, there's boss battles, but I'll explain that in a second. It's, well, what is it? It's Songbird Symphony. Yeah, I said it's a Metroidvania, but I'm pretty sure there's no enemies. The game is pretty much split into the searching of the world to gain abilities and different things, Metroidvania style. But when you hit the bosses, it turns into a rhythm game, which is really bizarre, but I love rhythm games, so I genuinely enjoyed this. I haven't got I can't remember if I had a platinum. I haven't got all the trophies on it yet, so I need to go back and give this another playthrough. But it was really charming. People might find the platforming in it very easy, and then if you're not too used to rhythm games, the spike in it might throw it for some people. But I'm a big fan of both these genres, so to me this was a really good game. I remember it being quite short, couple hours maybe, but it was different. It really was different. But yeah, it's got really nice pixel art graphics, as you want from a modern retro game. Yeah, it's also really cheap. I think it's about £5 in CEX, something like that. When I picked it up, I think it was £8, and I think it's dropped since then. But it's, yeah, very different. I think it's also on the eShop for Switch. I don't know if it got a physical Switch release. I don't keep up much with Switch physical releases. But yeah, I'd highly recommend this if you want something different, something relaxed. Well, it's relaxed until you get to the musical bits, depending on your skill level of rhythm games. But yeah, fun little game, this one. Something very different. Give it a go. Up next is a game that the only way I can describe it is if Earthbound and A Link to the Past had a baby. That game is Revery. Yeah, it looks like it's going to play like an Earthbound style RPG, but it isn't. It's got that art style, so it's all set in a believable world. You've got weapons such as yo-yos and like, I can't remember if it might be a toy sword or a wooden sword or something. You have a sword of some kind. But yeah, you go through and do the standard Zelda affair with the dungeons and things. I think it might have been set in, was it New Zealand? I think it's set somewhere like that. And you have to go and appease some spirits, basically, to calm them down. They're getting restless. But other than that, I can't remember. I did beat this. I think it had a platinum. I can't remember. It was a long time ago I beat this. But I genuinely really enjoyed it. It's not like the best like Zelda clone that you can think of, but it's really charming. I remember liking the music in it, and the art style was just different, and it felt, I don't know, it was just a welcome change to the most of the kind of 2D games which were about at the time. But yeah, I don't know if you're able to see what it looks like on the back. Nah, it's not going to show it on there. It has been released on the Switch and the Xbox and PS5, I think, recently. I think there's a new version of it called the Sweet As Edition or something, I think. I don't know. But yeah, this was the Vita version. This was one of those limited numbered releases. So I actually don't think it's very expensive yet for a Vita game, which comes in one of these cool boxes. But yeah, I said it's just a Zelda clone, but I enjoyed it. I don't think it reviewed very well, and I don't know why. It's not very difficult. I remember there being a lot of like environmental puzzles in it, but yeah, it was a good game. I enjoyed it. It's definitely one that you shouldn't ignore if you see it or want something in that kind of style. Yeah, it's a right little game. Up next is a game that isn't pixel art, but it is 2D, and the way it plays is as retro as it comes. It is Nexomon Extinction. This is a Pokemon clone, and a really, really good one. I've enjoyed this more than any of the newer Pokemon games I've played, because it plays just like Pokemon like Red and Blue. So it's that kind of old school, just grabbing your monsters, evolving them, and taking down, like, I can't remember if it had gyms or not. It was pretty. It did have gyms, but I don't know if they were called gyms. It is basically just Pokemon. Like, they've just reskinned it, and it's got a really weird sense of humor to it. Like, it's aware that it's a game, and there's like a really cocky side character that comes around with you. But yeah, it's actually really nice looking. If I remember rightly, your movement is also grid based, kind of like the old Pokemon game. So you're moving one like tile at a time when you're walking, and there's the little patches of grass. Literally, when I played this took me back to like playing the first Pokemon games again. That's what this reminded me of, and because of that, I highly recommend this to people. It's fantastic. Like, there's a few other Pokemon clones. I was going to mention Monster Sanctuary, which is a 2D like side-scrolling Pokemon clone, which is pixel art. But yeah, this has that more smoothed, almost like Flash game look to it, but like done really well, so it doesn't look really cheap and horrible. Yeah, this is great. I need to go back and get the platinum on it. I did beat all the story and everything, but there's some grinding of enemies. Not enemies, grinding of like leveling things up at the end, which I haven't done. But other than that, if you're a Pokemon fan, I highly recommend this to you, genuinely. I'm hoping this isn't a cop-out on this modern retro thing, but if it is, I might chuck in a little extra thing at the end. So yeah, give Nexomon a go. Up next is a game in a genre that has had a bit of a resurgence recently with these side-scrolling 2D beat-em-ups. So we had like Shredder's Revenge and the Streets of Rage 4. They were great games, great modern. Yeah, they'd be modern retro as well, wouldn't they? But one that doesn't get much love is 99 Vidas. This is the collector's edition of it. And again, yes, it's still sealed because I had this on PlayStation Plus, so you'd never tell that's a Vita game, would you? It doesn't say anything on it what it is. But what is this? Side-scrolling beat 'em up. I'm going to put that down because that's too big. Yeah, it's a game created by, I think it was a Brazilian team. So it's got a very Brazilian theme to it, and everyone's in like football shirts and stuff. And enemies will, like, as you're fighting them, they'll take a dive as if like they've just been hitting a football match. It's kind of weird, but yeah, it's actually a really nice looking and nice playing, really smooth game. The closest thing I can think of is it's not as well animated as Shredder's Revenge, but it's more of a chunkier looking pixel style to it. Maybe more like Scott Pilgrim, that game that came out then disappeared then came back. That's another good modern retro game. They're just popping in my head now, aren't they, as I'm just talking about them. But yeah, My only gripe with that is the levels sometimes are a bit long. You couldn't like level up your characters and stuff in between stages and things, but I can't remember if it does much or if it's just cosmetic. It's been a while since I played it, but you can play it all online. Well, you used to be able to. I don't know if the servers are still up, but yeah, you could do 4 players, 3 players. It might have been a really random number of players online you could play as. But yeah, it's just a 2D side-scrolling beat 'em up, but a pretty fun one, which has a lot of charm, and it's in a setting that you don't really see in games. You can tell it took a lot of inspiration from like Streets of Rage, but yeah, it's a fun little game. Again, if you used to download everything that was free on PlayStation Plus, you might already have that. So give it a go if you haven't. If not, I don't think it's very expensive digitally. There is a PS4 physical as well. I don't know how much it costs. I don't know if there's a Switch one. I think it's on the Switch, but digitally, I think. I don't know. Anyway, if you find it, give it a go. You might like it if you like the genre. This one's really not going to be for everyone, but I love this game, like, enough to sit there and get the 1000G on the Xbox for it. It is Double Kick Heroes. It's a pixel art 2D rhythm game, but the gameplay is good. You play it on a controller, like a standard controller, so anyone can pick it up and start getting good at it. It is absolutely solid. The controls, it gets to a point that it's just mad, and beating the hardest levels on the hardest difficulty is really difficult. But the reason it might not be for everyone is the soundtrack to it is pretty much all like death metal. So yeah, it's all heavy metal and death metal. But it goes with the visuals. You'll be taking down demons and stuff. Basically, you're in a car driving along, and the music you play kills things. It's really bizarre, but it was ridiculous fun, and it took me a long time to learn to master the controls of it. As I say, I'm a big rhythm game fan, and it scratched that itch that I needed when I was missing a rhythm game at the time. And I like metal music, so that helped. But there's not much else to say about it. It is... I'll have some footage in the corner, and hopefully it'll show how just insane the game is. But yeah, it was one of my favourite games I played. I think I beat it last year for the 52 game challenge. Might have been last year. I don't know. But genuinely, really good game if you like metal and you like rhythm games, and the punishing difficulty won't piss you off, basically. But yeah, it was one of those ones that I downloaded. I think it was randomly on Game Pass. I was like, I'll give that a go, and I didn't stop playing it till I beat it, basically. So yeah, great game. Not for everyone, but if you like metal and rhythm games. I'm just going in circles because there's nothing else to say about it. Look at the footage. Have fun. Okay, this one is... Again, I don't know if this should be a bit of a cop-out or not. It's a retro game which was released in modern times, but it wasn't made in modern times. It is Clockwork Aquario. Basically, what this is the creators of Wonder Boy, back in the 90s, were working on another arcade cab, and they never finished it, basically, because it wasn't going to compete with all the stuff coming out, which was all flashy and 3D and stuff at the time. So basically, they ended up shelving it. And I can't remember, a couple of years ago, they said, well, actually, it was a long time ago, they said that Strictly Limited were going to pick the game up, finish it off, and release it. So they did. So yeah, it is a game from the 90s, which got a release in recent years. It's really good, actually. It's a 2D platformer. It's very short. It's only about 20 minutes long, but it does let you play as different characters, and they all kind of control differently. But your main attack is jumping on things' heads, like Mario. You can, like, I think you can hit them. You have to hit enemies twice. You hit the first time, and it kind of stuns them, and then you can hit them again to finish them off. I think you could also hit things from underneath by, like, headbutting it. I don't know. It was that short. I played every playthrough of this needed to get the platinum on it in one go. I just sat down and played it. So unless you want to go for higher scores on it, it might not be the best bang for your buck. But it's a really fun game, and it looks really nice. It looks like it was a game which would have been a modern retro game coming out now. So it stands up against some of the stuff coming out these days of how nice this looks. Other than that, there's a couple of different modes on here. You can unlock there's like the standard mode, which is quite easy. Then you unlock arcade mode once you've beat them. And I can't remember arcade mode being much different. I didn't have any issues with beating this game at all. But I had a lot of fun, to the point that I think it was 6 times I went through it in one go to get the platinum. So I really, really enjoyed it. So I do actually recommend it. It's just not very long. It is on the Switch, I think, eStore, eShop, whatever it's called. And it's usually quite discounted on sale quite often on the other stores. So if you want to pay a couple of quid for it, it's definitely worth it. If you want to play an old, forgotten arcade platformer, yeah, great game. Okay, I am going to chuck in one more bonus entry, basically, because I thought including Nexamon, it's not pixel art, and Clockwork Aquario, again, it's an old game that finally got released, so I thought I need to chuck in another one. And this is also another one that's not pixel art, so I think if I put this and Nexamon together, we can count it. But it is 2D, and it's a Metroidvania, and it is Teslagrad. The reason I wouldn't glance this is because it's got that smooth kind of look to it, and the backgrounds are like, you get the odd 3D background in it, but not much. It's a very much art. It's just a 2D game. Yeah, it's another Metroidvania, and actually another really good one. You get to control different kinds of electricity and different like polarities of gravity and stuff, and it's just a really, really good game. It came out on pretty much everything now, I think. I actually beat it on the Vita, and can't remember how I got the PS4 one, but as things just appear in the collection, don't they? But yeah, it is genuinely a really good game. It was a while ago I beat it, so I can't say the greatest deal about it, but I remember it just being really good fun. I can't remember if it had a lot of enemies in it, or if it was just mainly puzzles. I can't remember. Hence why it's a bonus one. But I do remember really enjoying this. So yeah, if you see Teslagrad about, give it a go. Well, that's it. There was 10 games plus the bonus of Teslagrad to try and offset my skirting of the rules a little bit. But I'd like to know, have you played any of these? I could probably do another 2 or 3 of these lists from stuff that I've got lying around, which I've really enjoyed. I'm not the best person when it comes to trying to talk about this stuff off the top of my head. I probably should write stuff down, but it's all good. I just like sitting here and waffling on about video games, so yeah. Also, if you've got any recommendations for me, I'd like to know them, because this is the genres I like. I will happily play more. So anyway, gonna bugger off now. Have fun, people.